Conservative new media viewers and NBA fans around the world, what is up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to discuss Miami's 102-90 beatdown tonight in game number 4 of the 2014 Eastern Conference Finals. And with the victory, Miami is now up 3-1 in this best-of-7 series. And for many of you who watched tonight's broadcast, I believe they put the graphic up that says, if you go up 3-1 in a best-of-7 series in the NBA, history says that the team up 3-1 wins the series 96% of the time. So what we are saying is that with this win tonight, basically Miami has stamped their passport to return to the NBA Finals. It's not over yet, but it's essentially over. And that means the Miami Heat are set to become the first team in 25 years, I believe, to go to 4 straight NBA Finals. The last team to do it was, I believe, the Boston Celtics of the Larry Bird era. Bird, McHale, and Parrish in the mid to late 1980s. That is going to be a tremendous accomplishment, and it's another feather in the cap for LeBron James, who totally dominated this game. Miami set the pace, and they set the tenor of the game early. In the first quarter, they were all over the Pacers, outscoring them by 8 points, but what was most impressive in the quarter was how Miami attacked Indiana on defense. They were getting steals, they were trapping, putting tremendous amount of pressure under Indiana. Indiana just could not deal with it. Indiana, leading up to this game, you heard, if you were watching SportsCenter, if you're reading the media reports, there was all this conversation about the trash talk between Lance Stephenson and LeBron James. I post frequently on the message board, RealGM, realgm.com, their forums. And I said before this game, LeBron is setting Lance Stephenson up. And a lot of people misunderstood what was happening here. And they actually bought into Lance Stephenson's description of this, saying that LeBron was showing weakness by trash-talking Lance Stephenson. No, he wasn't. What he was doing was he was putting pressure on Lance Stephenson, and Lance Stephenson crumbled under the pressure. I think he had his worst game of the series tonight with 9 points, 5 boards, and 4 assists. That sounds pretty good, but going into the fourth quarter, I think Lance Stephenson had 1 point. He had no impact on this game, none. And coming into Game 4, Lance Stephenson was the pacer who was hurting the Miami Heat the most. He was doing even better than Roy Hibbert had been doing in terms of efficiency. LeBron knew that, and that's why he targeted Lance Stephenson to play mind games with him, and it paid off tonight. It paid off in Game 3 too, but it really paid off tonight. Credit to LeBron James. He knew exactly what he was doing, and it worked. Another person who completely didn't show up for the Pacers was Roy Hibbert. So those two guys, Lance Stephenson and Roy Hibbert, coming into Game 4, were the two Pacers that had been the most productive in terms of efficiency rating, PER. And Miami totally took them out of the game, or they took themselves out of the game. Roy only got 4 shots in the whole night, 5 boards. He just didn't get anything done, had foul problems. Lance Stephenson, foul problems. His head wasn't in the game. Mission accomplished for LeBron James and the Miami Heat. They won the battle of the mind, and that made it easier for them to win the battle out on the court. Now, respect has to be given to David West. He definitely showed up, 20 points, 12 boards. There was a feeling that Rashard Lewis, who was inserted into the starting lineup tonight, did a pretty good job on defense against David West in Game 3. Well, he didn't do a good job on him tonight. David West is a veteran on the team, one of the few veterans on Indiana's team. And he put it all out there tonight. It just wasn't enough. Paul George, 23.7 boards. Good, but not good enough. 5 turnovers, and he didn't do enough early on in the game. Again, if you're Paul George, you're basically the star of the team. You have to match up with LeBron. So if LeBron's putting up 32 points and 10 boards, you got to try to match that, and that didn't happen tonight. The thing that's really positive for Miami, in addition to just obviously getting the win, is that Dwayne Wade didn't even play well in this game. I mean, he had 15 points, but he shot 33%. Birdman Chris Anderson, he didn't even play, and he still beat this team by 12 points. Going into Game 5, I like Miami's chances. Indiana's going home, but Indiana in the playoffs, this playoffs, is only like 4-5 on their own home court. Miami's going to want to close this game out. If they close it out in Game 5, they don't have to think about any pressure of winning Game 6. Because if you go to Miami and you got to win that game, you have to win that game or else you're going back to Indiana. So I'm going to look for Miami to come out strong in game number 5 and try to close this series out, shut it down, so that they can get a little bit of extra rest before the NBA Finals. They need it. This is the oldest team in the league by average team members' age. Chris Anderson's hurting. Dwayne Wade needs to rest his knees. LeBron has a ton of mileage on him from the last few years. Remember, these guys have played more games than anybody else because they're going to be going to the 4 straight finals. They need rest. San Antonio and Oklahoma City, that's starting to look like it might actually turn into a series after it looked like San Antonio was going to run away with the series before Serge Ibaka came back in game number 3. So Miami does not want to play around. The reason why Miami won this game, in addition to what I said with their defensive intensity, they kept their own turnovers low. They only had 7 turnovers in this game, which is phenomenal. Indiana had 14 turnovers, which turned into 20 Miami points. Miami kept the battle of the rebounds pretty close. They kept the battle of the second chance points pretty close. So they neutralized Indiana's size advantage. They shot pretty well, and they got on Indiana. They got steals. They got in transition. They got some points, and they did exactly what they needed to do. And when I told you guys in the video after Game 3, I said, Miami has solved Indiana. And I think that's what you saw in this game as well. The Heat now have a comfort level playing against the Pacers, which they just did not have over the last few years. That doesn't mean closing out the Pacers is going to be easy, because it's not going to be easy. Now you have to deal with David West again. You thought Rashard Lewis could do a defensive job on him, but he can't, based upon what happened tonight. So now what do? Is Birdman going to be available for game number 5? So it's pretty much over, but it's not quite over. There's still a few little holes for Miami to kind of cover up before we can completely put this series to bed. Still, Miami is completely in command of this series. They look great. They took care of business like the 2-time champions should do, and they got it done. Looking at Indiana, we can now probably reflect on their whole season and their run. I mean, this is a failure. They talked about all year how if they had had Game 7 in Indiana last year, they would have won. Well, you got home court advantage this year, and there's not going to be a game number 7, based upon my feelings. Something would have to dramatically change in this series for there to be a game number 7, which means that you're going to get less far than you got last year. That's a failure. And I don't know what's going to happen with the organization. Is Coach Vogel coming back? Is Lance Stephenson coming back? Can they get past Miami? Because My feeling is that Miami is going to get stronger in this offseason. They're going to bring in new talent, probably some more big men, get a little younger, more athletic. This was probably Indiana's best shot to take down the Heat. Are they going to be around next year? Are they going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals next year? Indiana, we will see. That is about it. I hope you guys are enjoying the playoffs as much as I am. I love this stuff. I'm very much looking forward now to the San Antonio and Oklahoma City Game 4 tomorrow night in Oklahoma City. That will tell us a lot. If the Spurs go up 3-1, that series is probably basically over. But if Oklahoma City knots it up, then you got a best of 3, and Oklahoma City would have a tremendous amount of momentum and confidence, feeling like they can beat the Spurs because they beat them in 2012 in the playoffs after Oklahoma City was down 2-0 or 0-2 in that particular playoff run. So if they get the win tomorrow, they're going to think it's just the same situation all over again. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. We will include information in the video description where you can go and check out game highlights of tonight's Game 4 action at NBA.com. We'll also include information. You can come and join the Conservative New Media Facebook group. We have over 3,000 members there and growing all the time. Again, I am PFE Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We will talk to you again soon, and until then, enjoy the NBA playoffs 2014, and we'll see you again soon.